Welcome back, scholars. It's great to have you with me here again. Hi, I'm Mrs. Jonikin, a second grade teacher at Laurel Magnet School of the Arts in Laurel, Mississippi. But today, if you remember, I am the goddess of storytelling. I want to welcome you back to Mount Olympus for another day of learning. Let's take a look at today's standards. Today, you will ask and answer questions such as who, what, where, when, why, and how to demonstrate your understanding of key details in a text. Your I can statement is, I can ask and answer questions about important details in a story. You will also describe how characters in a story respond to major events or challenges. Your I can statement is, I can describe a character's thoughts, feelings, or actions. You will also describe the overall structure of a story that includes describing how the story begins, when it's introduced, and how the story ends in a conclusion. You will be able to tell the beginning, middle, and end of a story. For today's lesson, we're going to ask and answer questions about the story of the Olympian gods and goddesses. You're also going to use context clues to understand the meaning of unfamiliar words. You're also going to recount the beginning, middle, and end of a story. And let's not forget, because the ancient Greece enjoyed many forms of art, we will also learn how to use tableau to describe how characters act. Let's begin with our vocabulary words. Remember, we will use gestures to help us make connections of the meanings of our vocabulary words that are found in our story. Let's get started. Our first word today is dedicate. Say it with me. Dedicate. Dedicate. Dedicate means to set aside something as being special or to offer up something with respect and affection. For example, you might dedicate a poem you have written to someone special in your life, such as your parent or a close friend. I think a good gesture for dedicate is, let's see. We want to dedicate something special. So let's put it in a special place. Can you do that with me? Very good. Now, your next vocabulary word for today is grove. Grove. Can you say it with me? Grove. A grove is a place where a group of trees are growing or where they are planted next to each other. Now, what gesture can we use to represent grove? I know. Let's use our bodies here. This is the earth. And let's use our hand here to show a tree growing out of the grove. And because there are more than one tree, let's show several trees. Good job. Now it's your turn. Very good, scholars. Let's move on to our next word, which is mission. Mission means a special job or a task. Will you say it with me? Mission. What's our word? Mission. Very good. Have you ever been on a mission before? I bet you have. What about a checklist for our word mission? So here's our checklist. Because it's a job or a task, we would like to check off each one of our tasks. Can you do that gesture with me? Very good. Mission. Now our last word for today's lesson is spectacle. Spectacle. A spectacle is something that catches our eye. Listen to this sentence. Eli and Aries' rambunctious behavior made such a fun spectacle. Spectacle. Okay, what gesture do you think we could use for spectacle? Did you say binoculars? Great idea. Very good. What's our word? Spectacle. Great job. Now, let's begin or continue our story from our previous lesson. In our story, Zeus, the king of all gods and goddesses, has summoned everyone to the great palace on Mount Olympus. Now we are ready to continue our read aloud. Are you ready? Fantastic. Let's get started. Hermes, the messenger of the gods, was on a mission for his father Zeus, the king of the gods. Zeus was calling the most powerful gods back to their palace at the very top of Mount Olympus. Already Hermes had passed along Zeus's message to Apollo, the handsome god of music, poetry, and light, and to Apollo's sister, the huntress Artemis. Hermes had also carried the message to Zeus's brother, the mighty Poseidon, god of the seas. Hermes' task was not yet done, however, and now he hovered above Greece, looking and listening for the signs that would lead him to the next god he wished to find. This did not take long, for in the distance, Hermes saw flashes of light from earth beneath him. Flying in that direction, he soon heard screams and angry shouts, and now he could see below him two armies engaged in a battle. The lights Hermes had seen were flashes of sunlight reflecting off armor and weapons. The soldiers of one army were pushing back the soldiers of another army, which had now begun to panic and run. Perched on a cloud high above the battle and clearly excited by the spectacle below stood Aries, the god of war. Dressed all in red, tall and strong he stood, and his smile grew broader as Hermes landed beside him. "Hail, brother," he said, for he was also the son of Zeus. Pointing downward, he said, "Isn't it glorious? Here are humans at their best and worst, some displaying heroic courage and others cowardly fear." He pointed, and a beam of light shone on one of the desperate soldiers. "I have been watching that fellow there," said Aries. "See how he seeks to bring his fellow soldiers together to win the battle?" Hermes had never understood his brother's attraction to battle, but it would not do so to say that to Hermes. Hermes thought to himself, "If it seems to me that the best elements of humans are love, loyalty, and learning, not fighting." To Aries, he said, "Zeus summons us all to Mount Olympus." Without taking his eyes off the battle below, Aries nodded and said, "I'll be there." Okay, boys and girls, come back and let's talk about some of the questions that we may have encountered in our story. Are you ready? Good job. Now, what is Hermes' mission or his task? Great. Did you say Hermes' task was to deliver the message from Zeus to all the gods? Great job. Now, what sign did Hermes see that would lead him to the next god? Yes, he saw light flashing from the sunlight that was reflecting from the battle that was happening on earth. Now, what spectacle caught Aries' attention? Did you say Aries' attention was the spectacle that caught his attention was the war, the battle between the two armies? You are correct. Great job. Now, I want you to think about this contrasting question. How are Hermes and Aries different? Exactly. Hermes thought humans were better at love and being loyal and at learning, while Aries thought that they were better at fighting. Your answer may be a little bit different than mine, but that's okay. Now let's get back to our story. But Hermes had already flown to the Greek city-state of Athens. Here he found his sister Athena, another daughter of Zeus and goddess of wisdom and war, walking among a grove of olive trees. With Athena was Zeus's sister Demeter. She was the goddess of plants and of the harvest. In her wise, intelligent voice, Athena was saying, "And so, dear aunt, would you please make sure that this year's crop of olives is especially plentiful for the people of Athens?" Gently, Demeter answered, "I shall be delighted." Instantly, the nearby olive leaves turned a deeper shade of green. Hermes landed, kissed his aunt's cheek, and then smiled at Athena. "I have come to tell you that Zeus calls us all to Mount Olympus." "Of course," Athena says. Hermes was off once more to his last stop, back to Mount Olympus where he had started. There, Hermes followed the loud clang, clang, clang of metal striking on metal. His brother, Hephaestus, the god of fire and the blacksmith of all gods, was standing by his red-hot forge with a huge, heavy hammer in each hand, striking them in turn against a jagged lightning bolt. The lightning bolt was being shaped on top of an anvil, which is a heavy block of iron or steel with a smooth, flat top. Waiting outside to carry the lightning bolt to Zeus, who, as you remember, was the god of lightning and thunder, was a magnificent winged horse named Pegasus. Hephaestus did not even notice Hermes until the messenger called out loudly enough to be heard over the hammer strokes, "Greetings, brother!" Hephaestus stopped hammering and, wiping the sweat from his brow, looked over at Hermes. The two gods, though brothers, appeared to be opposite. Hephaestus was huge and muscular in his upper body, but slow-moving due to an injury that had left his legs badly damaged. Hermes was slender and so smooth that he seemed almost to dance in all of his movements. Hephaestus's face broke out into a big grin when he saw the messenger god. "Brother, where have you been while I have been tied down here at my forge?" he asked in his slow way. "Practically everywhere," Hermes answered. "Zeus has sent me to summon everyone to the great hall." By everyone, Hermes meant the main gods, of whom himself was one. In fact, there was only one left to contact. "Would you ask your wife to join us?" he asked. Hephaestus frowned. "She does not like to be awakened this early," he said, even though it was nearly noon by now. "But if it is for Zeus, I will do it." Hephaestus' wife was the most beautiful of all the goddesses, the goddess of beauty itself and love, Aphrodite. Aphrodite was as used to luxury as Hephaestus was used to hard work. Hephaestus told Hermes, "We will come. Now, come back to me and let's discuss some of the details that we have just read in our read aloud." Our first question is, which two goddesses did Hermes find talking in the grove of trees? Yes, Athena and Demeter. Did you say Athena and Demeter? You are correct. Great job, scholars. Our next question is, which god is the god of fire and the blacksmith of all gods? Yes, Hephaestus. Now, what did we learn about Aphrodite from the text? Do you remember? Did you say that Aphrodite was the goddess of love and beauty? Then you are correct. Great job. Let's go back to our text and complete our story. Are you ready? Finally, all the gods and goddesses had gathered. Aphrodite told Athena in a laughing voice, I am so sorry I looked such a mess. But Hephaestus said I had to hurry. Athena smiled to herself, for as always, Aphrodite was absolutely stunning. Athena had no chance to reply, for now the king and queen of them all, Zeus and Hera, entered. Hera was the goddess of feminine power and women's lives. She knew why Zeus had summoned them all. The family of the Olympian gods was about to welcome a new member. Zeus raised a hand for silence, smiled, and announced, "Today is a special day. Today, we invite to join us here on Mount Olympus a new god, the youngest of us all. Humans will worship him as they worship the rest of us." Zeus continued, "Welcome among us Dionysus, god of wine, pleasure, and theater." Suddenly, there appeared a handsome fellow with laughing eyes, a lazy smile, and dark curly hair. Dionysus spoke in a light, easy tone. "I am honored. I shall teach humans to make wine and raise cups of it in praise of us all, and they shall dedicate their finest plays to the gods and goddesses. In these ways, I hope to provide pleasure to humans and to honor us all." And so it was that Dionysus joined the household of the gods and goddesses atop Mount Olympus, completing what is known as the 12 Olympian gods. Now, let's take care of our comprehension questions. Did you enjoy that section of the story? I did. The first question is, what information does Hera already have about why the most powerful gods were summoned to the palace? Did you say that she knew that a new god was joining the Olympian family? Yes, she knew the secret. Very good. Now, who is the newest member of the family on Mount Olympus? Correct! Dionysus. He's the newest member of the family. Do you remember what special skill Dionysus possessed? Awesome job, boys and girls. Dionysus is the god of wine, pleasure, and theater. Very good. Now that we have completed our read aloud, we're going to discuss how we can complete our anchor chart on first, the beginning of the story, next, the middle of the story, and then finally, the end of the story. Will you help me remember who the characters and events of the story are? Perfect, thank you. Let's get started. First, who are the characters that we meet at the very beginning? Did you say Hermes and Apollo? You guessed correctly. We're going to, yes, Hermes and Apollo. We're going to put our details in the first box on our anchor chart for beginning, and we'll complete the middle and the end as we go through our story. Okay? Now, can you tell me the setting or where the story takes place? You're right, Mount Olympus. Very good. Mount Olympus. We're also going to add Mount Olympus to the beginning of our story. Now let's think about some of the events that occurred in the middle of the story. Great job. You ready? Yes, if you said that Hermes flies off to deliver the message from Zeus, then you are correct. Very good. Let's put this in the middle of the story. Great job. Now, is there another event that we may have overlooked? You're right. All of the gods agreed to come and gather at the palace. Let's add that to the middle. That is an excellent event we need to remember. Now, what about the end of the story? Very good. Dionysus is introduced as the newest member of the Olympian family. Let's add this event to conclude our story. Now, but you know, boys and girls, something is missing. Do you know what it is? I bet you do. Yes, Zeus summoned. That was the whole point of our story. Hermes was sent off to summon all the gods to the palace on Mount Olympus. We forgot to add that one. No, we did not. I was checking to see if you were great listeners, and you are. So let's add that Zeus summoned all the gods to the palace. Now that we have the beginning, the middle, and the end of our story in our flow chart here, I want you to write a short summary of these events. And you can do that on your own, or you can do that with your learning partner. Now, guess what? It is time for us to do the fun part. Are you ready to show how we understand characterization by doing our art form tableau? Well, stand up with me. Are you standing? Great. Now let's remember, think about a tableau is a living picture that is unmoving or frozen. It shows a moment. Very good. Now let's review Hermes. Remember, Hermes was the tableau that we did at the beginning of our read aloud. Do you remember the tableau that we did? Ah, great job. I see you. So we have our baton with our little wings, and we're going to make our little... Very good. That is our review. Now that we have reviewed, if you would like to do a different tableau for Hermes, you are welcome to do so. Now, let's show another god or goddess. What about the goddess Artemis? Do you remember that the goddess Artemis was the goddess of hunting? Yes. Let's think of a tableau. She had a quiver on her back with bows in it. So let's use our bow and arrow to do a tableau. Very nice. Now it's your turn. Great job. And if you like to use different levels for your tableau with your body and your space, you are welcome to do so. You might want to go like this. Great job. Congratulations, boys and girls. You've done 2 gods. Our final god that we're going to do a tableau is the king of all gods, and we call him Zeus. Are you ready? Zeus was the god of thunder and lightning. So this is our lightning bolt. How would you like to do it? Great. So we're going to do Zeus. Good job. Which god or goddess would you like to choose on your own? Great. Thank you for showing me your tableau. Before we leave, I want to congratulate you on your wonderful work with theater. And guess what? Our Olympian family tree is now complete with the newest member, Dionysus. And we're going to add him to our Olympian family tree. Now, why don't you teach what you have learned to someone else? You can also ask your learning partners to create an entire scene from our story for a tableau vivant. All right. You have done an amazing job using our art form tableau to describe characters. I love the way you were able to recount the beginning, middle, and end of our story. You even learned some vocabulary words to make connections to the meanings of new words. I'm very, very pleased with your hard work today, scholars. Before we leave, I'd like to acknowledge all credits and rights for this content by CKLA. Thank you, CKLA, for publicly sharing your research. Again, scholars, it has been wonderful sharing with you. And until next time, bye-bye.